The government shutdown is impacting cruisers, and some lucky cruisers might end up extremely happy about it. Hello, my friends. When the government first shut down last month, I didn't bother posting any news about how this will impact upcoming cruises. I didn't think I'd need to. I figured it would end before I even posted a video about it. Yet here we are, over a month later, and the impact of the shutdown is definitely being felt throughout the cruise industry, as well as by cruisers themselves. And shockingly, it might actually impact your upcoming cruise in a couple good ways, if you're one of the lucky ones, as well as some really lousy ways that might just make you feel like you're kind of breaking even on it all. And I'm not even going to make you wait until the end of my video to find out those ways that the shutdown might end up impacting your upcoming cruise in surprisingly fantastic ways, because this is something that no one else is talking about right now. So here's the situation. As you probably know, the FAA just announced that 10% of flights out of 40 U.S. airports will be canceled due to the shutdown. That's horrible news. And yes, it even impacts all of the airports I fly out of, so if you're feeling the effects of this, I'm right there with you. But if you happen to be one of the people who does manage to make it to your cruise port on time, this means that, first off, let's tackle the more obvious one. Your ship may be carrying a much lighter load when it comes to people, simply because people's flights have gotten canceled. And that means shorter lines for everything, including water slides, bumper cars, go-karts, dry slides, and even that buffet we all love. Hey, you might even get so lucky as to dine at the new Royal Railway restaurant, and wow, that's a hard one to say. But anyway, it's next to impossible to get into that restaurant. But with people not showing up, you stand a better chance than ever before. You might even get a good seat at trivia for a change. Wow, wouldn't that be refreshing? But secondly, and here's the one that can quite literally upgrade your cruise to a true luxury status. All these last-minute cancellations mean that those of you who participated in Royal Caribbean's Royal Up program might end up getting some really extraordinary upgrades for great prices. For those of you who don't know, Royal Up is a program where, after you book and as your cruise date approaches, you can choose to bid on upgrades. For example, if you're in an oceanfront balcony cabin, you might choose to bid on a suite. Now, in general, as I've said before on my channel so many times, I'm personally not a fan of this program because you don't get to choose your cabin location. You can't turn down an upgrade once you've signed on to the program and been offered the upgrade. And it often doesn't save you that much money. But right now, with a lot of predicted cancellations and no-shows, you might find yourself getting a really sweet deal. But here's the bad news. With fewer people on board, that means less income for cruise lines on things like beverages and specialty dining and photo packages and all those things that cost extra on board a ship. So that will likely mean that if you manage to get on board, they're going to try to upsell you a lot. And I know that's one thing that drives even me a little crazy on a good day. So an even harder upsell might be a little hard to take. Just please remember not to get mad at the crew about this because it's not their fault. The cruise line makes the decision about upselling, and the crew are simply trying to keep their jobs. And wow, that's something a lot of people can relate to right now. You might also encounter some shore excursions that are canceled if you're headed to something that is run by the government or has a considerable amount of federal funding. Also, this shutdown is going to impact attitudes of people who are relying on flights to get to their cruise ship port. Chaos at the airport makes for a lot of angry people, and that means a lot of angry people are going to be arriving at the departure port. So be sure to pack an extra portion of patience when you're embarking on your cruise, because even if you didn't have to fly to get there, a lot of other people did, and they might be running on a short fuse. So outside of some possible upgrades, if you're lucky, and smaller crowds, I can't say that this shutdown is anything but bad news for cruising and for travel in general. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of travel insurance. If you're a subscriber, you already know that I'm a huge fan of travel insurance, and it has saved me a lot of money, especially when I had a school-aged kiddo who seemed to attract every germ out there. But I know that a lot of you don't like it, and I get it, but please at least consider it right now. And before I say another word, I want to recognize that talking about cruising right now seems somehow tone deaf when there are so many people out there who are struggling to simply put food on their tables right now. So if you aren't affected by the shutdown, may I also encourage you to join my husband and me in donating food and money to your local food bank, if you're able, because these wonderful organizations are having a hard time meeting the increased demand for their services. Thank you so much for tolerating my little public service message there. Now let's talk about something none of us want to think about: how this hopefully short-term shutdown is going to affect cruising in the long term. Because less money for the cruise lines means that you're going to be paying more down the road because these huge companies have bills to pay. Well, there's partial good news here too, but only partial. All these predicted no-shows due to flight cancellations won't mean that the cruise line itself is losing out on depleted cruise fares because, as you probably know, if you cancel your cruise last minute, that cruise line gets to keep your money. Yeah, bad news for you, but good news for them. However, as I mentioned before, not having all these people on board means less income for them because there's fewer people they get to upsell. But I think the biggest impact will be coming down the road for all of us. You see, people aren't getting paid right now, and that means that the same people aren't booking cruises because they can't afford it. And when the shutdown ends, not only will these people have a backlog of expenses that they'll need to deal with that will take up their vacation dollars, but also there will be a sense of uncertainty and pessimism that will affect them for many, many months to come, perhaps even longer. When people don't get paid, many people will continue to feel a sense of vulnerability for years and sometimes decades to come. I only have to look at my husband's late grandfather who survived the Great Depression, and that experience affected his spending patterns for the rest of his life. Hopefully this shutdown won't turn into something of that magnitude, but I can pretty much guarantee that a lot of people who are feeling the effects of it now won't be able to quickly dive into planning expensive vacations anytime soon. And fewer people cruising will impact the price of cruising for all of us and the kind of services we get for our money. But as I said before, these are first world problems. So right now, I'm personally not worried about the prices for cruising in the future and just worried about the many, many people in my life who are impacted by this shutdown. And yes, I can't help hoping that just by posting this, it will mean that the shutdown will suddenly end and I'll get a whopping 10 views off of this video, which would be 100% fine with me if it means people are back to work and getting paid. Are you traveling during the shutdown? I'd love to hear what effects, if any, you're seeing. And as always, thank you so much for watching, for subscribing, for commenting, and for making this channel such a supportive community. I'm so grateful for you.